So I'm back. Yeah, this is the this is like the light bulb of spinning spinning ideas. It's this inspirational propeller beanie. Back in C minor. This is part duh. This is off the other cuff. I'm not sure which one, but this is part two, part duh of the video series. I don't know how many parts. It might be part three at some point. Um, I was showing you when we last left off that you can do different right hand techniques, with the plucking and strumming and all that. So you can strum up and down, just strum down, whatever it is. Strum in different rhythms. You can also have your fingers planted, so you've got the bottom thumb plays the bottom string in succession. Each finger gets its own assigned string. You can go up and down. It doesn't have to be that way. You can move around too. It doesn't matter. You could do things, like up and then back down. You could also pluck the top three strings, and so you can just sort of alternate that. So Silent Night would be Silent Night, Holy Night, all is calm, all is bright, around yon virgin mother and child. Yeah. Holy infant, so tender and mild, sleep in heavenly peace, sleep in heavenly peace. Make sense? Okay. You could do, or you can go. You can do all kinds of things, and again, you can alternate and change up. There's other things you can do. I want to get into this later in another tuning, but for example, if I did this, Silent Night, Silent Night, I could also just, I'm just doing that one finger, on that first fret of the top string. I could also add that. Okay. So this idea applies to this. You could do it here. Ouch. You could do it here too. So you could hear I was, making a monkey of myself trying to get some of those notes to, not be dampened unintentionally and inadvertently. There are some chord forms that are a lot easier to do than others. So obviously just doing one finger on a very, comfortable spot is great. If I wanted to do something like, for example, a first inversion C chord, this is called root position, has the main note at the bottom. Well, first inversion means it has a middle note, C, E. Then I would have to find a way, whoops, to get this chord form, which is, your old friend, third finger there, and then have to get my pinky way the heck over here. And that's very uncomfortable. So if I wanted to do the first inversion, I'd have to do something like this. It's just very uncomfortable. You end up bending strings unintentionally, and you end up hitting strings you don't mean to. So, and it kind of dampens them, pulls them out of whack. It's just so if you're gonna do movable chord forms, probably find something that's comfortable, right? Let me tune to the regular standard tuning. So watch. C goes to D. Hold the whole step. C, C sharp, D. That sounds good. It's, da, 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 da. Little House on the Prairie. Little House on the Prairie. Get this out. Close enough. And that's a C went down to B, half step, and then D sharp goes up a whole half step to E. Close enough for jazz. um, Here's why I teach it the other way first. Because it's easier. You're tuned to a default minor chord, and then you can get all your major chords from that minor just by adding one finger. This is slightly, not a lot, but slightly um, a little more complicated, but not a big deal. If you wanted to get a major chord, you just go 1, 2, 3, That's still the top string. Instead of doing this as your major chord, you just do it on the third fret. And you might want to use your pinky because that's going to be the slider. So I'll just do that for now. So here's your D, G, B, E, my dog has fleas. And there's your major chord. Now, just for fun, the main note's not the bottom anymore. Now it's the fifth of the chord, meaning 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, G, A, B, C, D. And so the main note's actually the next string over. And that, not a big deal. If you don't care, nobody else cares, and it's all good. Hearing my beanie, which is whirring around. If you wanted to do a major chord, let's say, we're in G major right now. If you want to do a D chord, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it's the second dot, just like it was before. And you just do a bar over that, and you just add that, pinky right where it was when it was down there. There's your D chord. If you want to do a C chord, it's the same deal. You just move down to the first fret, first dot, and add that little pinky, okay? So you could go, silent night, same deal. Holy night. Now move up to the second dot. All is calm, all is bright. Makes sense? Okay. To find a minor chord, instead of having it be open, you just find a very easy, very comfortable, minimal amount of, fingers. And just go to the lowest string, and on the second fret, just add your, I don't know which finger would probably be more, yeah, probably your 4. Okay. So just did this. Okay, it's on the bottom string, second fret. So there's your E minor chord. So if I want an A minor chord, not a big deal. I go E, F sharp, G, A, 1, 2, 3, 4. And I go up to the first, dot, do a bar, add that finger in the equivalent spot where it was down there. Here's your A minor chord, B minor chord. Get all your minors. You can do, C minor, D minor, back all the way to E minor. Just an up and octave, and I can't really reach it. Gotta cram her into there. I can do it. Some have cutaways, so you don't have to worry about it. Finger numbers are a little strange in string instruments. I think of piano and harp, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In viola land, for example, it was 1, 2, 3, 4. And the only way I was able to cope with that is that I've got 1 finger on the neck, 2 fingers, 3 fingers, 4 fingers. That's actually correct. There's also a way of, I think it's Pima, I can't remember what it was. Pouce is the, is that the name in French of your thumb? Yeah, the petit pouce is the little thumbkin, who was the little fairy tale? What was his name? Did he leave breadcrumbs? Was that the one? Little trail of breadcrumbs. Pima, index, middle, annular, which is your ring finger. There's all kinds of ways of labeling these things. I just go 1, 2, 3, 4. Just for the sake of these videos, this is your 4, okay? Piano and harp land. Just for now. Before I move on from this tuning, I'm just trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to show you. Oh, this is important. Okay, so far we've had treated the entire neck like, bounce around piano. Okay, and we had the chords were very consistent in terms of their spacing. So, if it was C, G, C, E flat, it was, 1, 5, 1, 3. Then when you move up the neck, it goes 1, 5, 1, 3 to F minor, and then you move up the neck, 1, 5, 1, 3. Your spacing of all those notes are consistently up and down. If that's what you like and that's what you want, great. The equivalent of that would be kind of like if I were to sing My Country 'Tis of Thee, but I would go, My country 'tis of thee, sweet land. I've all disjointed. That would be not considered great voice leading because, voice leading comes from singing, and most people usually sing, one note after another, closer together. Doesn't mean you can't have leaps and anything like that, because you certainly can, but there's nothing bad or good or wrong or right about different voice leadings. But usually singers generally sing notes a little closer together, like especially My country 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty of the eyes. There wasn't a leap in that little passage at all. And then it goes, the leaps in there, ba ba da 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 da, and it stays stepwise, half steps and whole steps. There's also something called counterpoint, which means you have many voices all at the same time. And usually they try to also, each voice, you can do it on the ukulele. There's, sometimes more than 4 voices. It just, what depends on what's implied. Each of those voices will probably move to the closest notes available. So, we were talking about, well, the main note's in the second string as opposed to the first string. Well, that's one of the reasons why, is that maybe that note happened to be closer, than the main note would have been, that idea. So a lot of the time they teach you to play all of your chords here. And so you have the G chord is fingered that way, and a D chord is fingered that way, and a C chord is fingered that way or this way. Your E major seventh, and then your A major seventh. You have all these chords. There's this one. Oh, we did that one. B7. Uh, all these chords have their own shapes. When you're first learning, and to have to learn all your shapes and stay in this position, you're not going to learn anything about just how to wiggle your finger. Okay, keep it consistent in the beginning. But all those skills that you learned originally will transfer over when you get to something a little bit more complicated. Here's what's fun: is that the voice leading is great when I go like, silent night, holy night. I do a D chord down here, all is calm, all is bright, and I do C chord, da 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 da. Make sense? I stayed put. I still did the G's, C's, and D's the same way, as opposed to moving everything up and down and down and down. You can do all of those chords up here. So let's just say silent night, C and C. You could finger the G chord this way, painful. All is calm, and to go all is bright, you can finger the F chord this way. Da, 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 da. So I did the exact same chord forms, all the different chord shapes. I just barred them and I did it this way. Okay. Last thing I want to do here: tune the E down to a D. This is banjo tuning. Doesn't have to be banjo exclusively. Anything. I do my song lately in Earlysville this way. I do a lot of songs. If I have a guitar, I go D, G, D, G, B, D. It's just under those two lower strings. It's open G tuning. When you're doing bars, obviously you could do one finger all the way across, called a full bar. You could also do all four fingers across each of those strings. Achieves the same thing as one finger all the way across, as a little clamp. You could do a partial bar, which is just do the three strings, or just two strings. Makes sense. I do movable chord forms in that song all over the place. I just have, for example, two fingers. And what's nice about that is it incorporates notes that are outside the actual three-note Charlie chord. So this is supposed to be a C chord, doesn't even have the C in it. G and E, G, G, E are part of the chord. Then you get a D, which is an added note in there. This is supposed to be a D chord, the main notes of the chord, and B, C. You get the fifth of the chord, the third of the chord, and the main note of the chord, the roots on top. You also get this added note in there. E minor chord, different hand shape. It's very consistent. You can move this all the way around. Here's an E minor chord right there. It has an extra note. Slide it down. I didn't do anything. I didn't change my hand position at all. I just slid it around. So your chord forms don't have to cover with a full bar and add fingers on there. They can literally be, something very, just a regular chord form which only hits three strings or only hits two strings, and you just move it around. I prefer it to be comfortable though. That's usually important. Did we talk about that? Did I already show you a chord that was really uncomfortable? You got three fingers and you're stretching. I might have already shown you that. So usually I try to find something that's comfortable. Did we talk about that? I can't remember. I have to rewind. God, are we 14 minutes already? 143. Okay, I'm gonna hang up. I'm gonna play Silent Night in this tuning, and I'm gonna use an open G chord. I'm gonna use very, very simple and very, very simple, and just stay down there. I can do a G chord this way. Silent night, holy night, and I can do D chord. All is calm, all is bright. C chord. Okay. It doesn't matter the tuning. The principles are all the same. So I hope that was informative. We can do just dueling with myself, I suppose. What's a duo for one? Is it a duo for one? Off both. Ding a ding a ding. Oh, my hands are all tangled. I look like a deer Gandhi. All right, thanks for listening, and I hope you learned something fun today.